Does Xbox Series S hold development of Baldur's Gate 3 for Xbox? Let's look into this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I would like to talk about Xbox Series S because I've seen a number of websites claiming that Xbox Series S holds development of Baldur's Gate 3 for Xbox. Now obviously I could just sit here and say, oh, that's not true, Xbox Series S doesn't hold back any development, right? But I wanted to investigate, right? Because that's the way it should be done. And I was actually curious, where did that information come from? So I'm sure you've seen, I think, the most popular response about that from developers, the one from Reddit. And that Reddit post was basically saying, in general, that there's some Xbox development issues they need to fix. It has something to do with co-op, I think it was said in that statement as well. And they need to basically fix it, right? So they don't feel confident announcing release date for a game, for a platform, when they are still working on fixing some major issues, right? So the game is still in development for Xbox and they are working on fixing these problems. So, you know, when I read that back then, I was like, oh, so that means that worst case scenario, the game will probably release a bit later when they will actually fix the issue. And by the way, Larian Studios is not really a huge studio. They are actually quite small. So they've got obviously limited resources for all and they are actually trying to release you know, this game for all these platforms, right? Xbox as well, but they stumbled upon some issues. But where does that statement about Xbox Series S holding development of that game comes from? Well, it comes from that IGN article where IGN reached out to Larian Studios, you know, to get some more detailed information on what's going on with Xbox version. And obviously, this particular statement actually gives us a little bit more detail because they said, we are seeing a lot of varied interpretations sorry, of what that means. So we wanted to clarify further. We've had an Xbox version of Baldur's Gate 3 in development for some time now. We've run into some technical issues in developing the Xbox port that have stopped us feeling 100% confident in announcing it until we are certain we found the right solution. Specifically, we've been unable to get split screen co-op to work to the same standard on both Xbox Series X and S, which is a requirement for us to ship. Okay, so this is the statement, and I think I know where this whole Xbox Series S holds Xbox Series X back comes from, because they basically say that we've been unable to get split screen co-op to work on the same standard on Xbox Series S and X, which is a requirement for us to ship. So they want to really deliver the same game on both platforms, and you know, Xbox Series S is less powerful console, so looks like that particular console, Xbox Series S, needs some extra work and to optimize, and they need to optimize more to actually make it work to the standard they expect. Now, obviously, yes, I understand why some people would say, okay, so that means that Xbox Series S holds Xbox Series X back, right? I mean, but not really, because they could just not deliver co-op experience at all and the game would still work, or they could deliver worse co-op experience on Xbox Series S and it better on Xbox Series X, right? I mean, that's what has been happening on Xbox Series and with many games where, you know, some graphics modes are missing or some other stuff are missing, right? So, but still, like, even so, even if Xbox Series S is a bottleneck right now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't be able to find a way to solve that particular problem. Obviously, they don't necessarily say what exactly the problem is. Is that a memory issue? Is that a CPU issue? I don't think it's a CPU issue because CPU is pretty much the same as on Xbox Series X. Is it SSD issue? Not really, because SSD is pretty much the same as on Xbox Series X. GPU issue? I mean, I don't really know how that would affect the co-op experience. I mean, are they talking? Maybe they mean it might be that the resolution is so low that on split screen it doesn't really look that good, right? But it is what it is. Like Xbox Series S is less powerful, so graphics will be downgraded, right? So listen, at the end of the day, we don't know what the problem is, and there's always issues when developers are making the game, right? And they need to find ways to to actually fix these issues. Developing a game for PC looks a bit different than developing a game for PlayStation. I mean, developing the game looks the same, but actually when it comes to optimization of the game, that looks a bit different because there's different way to handle number of things, right? And so yeah, I can understand why people see that as Xbox Series S holding Xbox Series X back, but the problem with that statement is that we've seen that before with some other developers, like what was it recently? There was Dying Light. 2 developers said that Xbox Series S cannot handle 30 frames per second, and then they actually delivered that mode, but later. And there was one more game which I can't remember. There was only 30 frames per second mode on Xbox Series S, and then they delivered 60 later. Cyberpunk was like that as well. So what the thing with Xbox Series S in general is, or any less powerful console, is that unfortunately for developers, it requires more work to actually deliver what they want to deliver, right? So yes, I feel for developers that they have to put extra work to actually optimize for that console, but that doesn't really mean that Xbox Series S holds Xbox Series X or development of that particular game back per se. As in, oh, you can't do that, right? So yeah, development will probably drag a little bit longer. So in that sense, yeah, I guess you could say that. But the thing is that doesn't mean that whatever they are trying to deliver, they won't be able to deliver that on Xbox Series S. They probably will be able to deliver that on Xbox Series S, but it will take them more time to do that. Like with all these games that I just said, Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Dying Light 2, and there was like 1 or 2 other games that launched with 30 frames per second on Xbox Series S, and then 2 months later, a patch delivered 60 frames per second option for Series S as well. So that's development, right? And it's not, and sometimes it's not even knowledge. Sometimes it's just the fact alone that they are a smaller studio and they cannot throw as many developers at a particular problem as they would like, because they are a small studio. They want to ship that game on multiple platforms at the same time, which is not easy anyway. And yeah, and they want to deliver a good product, right? So I think in general, worst case scenario when it comes to Xbox version, we will actually get that game a bit later. Now, I know that it's funny enough, it's like nobody really cared about Baldur's Gate 3 prior to that announcement, and now everyone is up in the arms. No, is that how you say it? I don't think so. Anyway, everyone is so kind of excited about Baldur's Gate because, yeah, whatever. Anyway, console war thing on Twitter as always. So anyway, guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really do hope that we will get some more information on Baldur's Gate 3. Now, I personally don't plan to on playing that game on Xbox. I mean, really, if I were to play that game, I would probably play it on PC anyway. It's more like a PC game, to be honest with you. But hey, if you like these kind of games, I wish you that the developers will overcome the issues, technical issues, and you will get that game on Xbox pretty soon as well. So anyway, guys, that's the video. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for support. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.